Today, I'm going to show you a simple and effective way to paint your very own Necron warriors. Hey guys, I'm Angela and welcome back to another Hobby Night episode. This week, I thought I would show you how to paint the most ancient evil in the universe, the Necrons, out of Indomitus, because that released this weekend, and I imagine a lot of you have picked it up, but you might be more interested in using your Space Marines out of it. Well, they need an opponent to fight, so why not use the Necrons? And I'm going to show you a quick and easy technique that uses just 4 colors so that you can make them battle ready and usable on the table immediately. I primed my Necron warrior in a dark purple using Alien Purple from Army Painter. And I did so by only partially assembling him, much like we did with our Assault Intercessor previously. This will make painting him much easier because he will be in pieces. Now, I wanted to take a moment to talk about color choices because when you're dry brushing with only 3 or 4 colors, your choices are going to be very important. I started with my dark purple base because that is going to be functioning as my shade. I think as long as you go with something that is a darker tone, it will probably work to the same effect. Next, I chose a medium blue tone that I liked, as well as a complementary highlight color to that blue so that I could get some variation and gradation as I went. Now you could accomplish this with reds or greens or any other color tone that you might want to use. It's really up to you, but I think it's important that you pick a good base tone and then a nice highlight color for that base tone. Finally, I think it's important to pick a third tertiary color that is a nice complement to the other 2 colors you've already picked. In my case, I chose this bright green because it shares the same brightness level as my highlight tone and it pulls the Necron theme that I want. Starting off with my Thousand Suns blue, we're going to apply this to the entire miniature with a pretty heavy hand. Now, we are dry brushing, so we are going to still make sure we get most of the paint off of our brush by beating it into the paper towel or some other absorbent surface that you may have. But we want to get off most of that paint because it is a dry brush. You want to apply this gently and layer it appropriately and not get too heavy into the grooves because we want to maintain our purple or whatever color you may have used as your shadows. And as you can see, it's working very well. We still get a little bit of that color tone. We've already got some depth on this miniature. Now we are going to use the same techniques on both the head and the arms, and in particular with the torso. You may want to flip him around. In fact, you probably definitely want to flip him around because if you do it like how I have him here, it's a little tough to get the back of his head and also the back of his neck. So make sure you get those areas. As for the gun, I tended to start with the arms when I was working on my Necrons. I just found it a little bit easier. Thankfully, dry brushing dries very, very quickly, so if you need to, you can take these pieces off of the cork if it makes handling it easier, which I do find in this instance for the gun. I get one side and then I flip it over and hold it in my hand, bracing it on the arms so that I can get both sides. And if you were to have him pre-assembled while you were trying to paint him, this gun especially would be a big pain in the butt because getting the backside of it would be very difficult.
Angela! What is all this?
I might have a problem. I have too many minis to paint and not enough subscribers to encourage me to do it, so don't forget to subscribe, like, and share the videos.
Next, we're going to move on to our highlight color, which for me, I chose Armin Blue because that is the natural highlight color to Thousand Suns as GW sells it. And we're going to apply this color basically the exact same way that we did previously, with the exception that we want to be a little lighter with our application because it's our highlight and we don't want to overpower our base tone that we've already laid down. This will add a little bit of depth, and we want to make sure we get this on the entire miniature in the same way that we did previously. Again, just making sure to be a little lighter. Next, we're going to move on to our accent color, which is, in my case, Moot Green, and I chose this because I really wanted them to look very Necron-y, and we're about to see them pop this way. I moved to a slightly smaller dry brush here because I wanted to have a bit of control, because all we're going to be using our green for on especially the body of the Necron and all of his limbs is an accent. It's going to just catch the raised edges, maybe pulling out a couple of particular areas where his guts are hanging out, On his legs, for example, there's that cord you can see that looks like a little sinew. I accented that, the guts in his chest, and the emblem on his chest. I really applied this a little bit more heavily to give it sort of a glow effect and make it look like he's ethereal. We've got this ghostly undead thing going, and I really, really like it. Finally, the one last place where we're really going to apply our accent color a little bit more heavily is on the gun. Particularly on the Gauss coils for the weapon, because we want to make them look like they're hot and firing into combat, and also on the coils that are hanging down and the heat reduction coils that are on the back of the gun as well. This process takes a little bit of extra time because while we are layering up this paint and covering up some of the blue that we've done in these areas, we are still doing it very lightly because we don't want to push the paint into the grooves of the actual miniature because we don't want to lose our shadows. So make sure to just be delicate and patient with this step. And with that, the painting portion is done and all we have left is the base. So gently remove your Necron from his base and choose your appropriate texture paint. I went ahead and picked Martian Iron Earth because I thought the color would stand out really nicely and beautifully against the color palette of my Necron. I'm going to use my texture tool and spread this on a thin layer over the entire miniature base. And because I want to make sure that I get some nice variety in the size of cracks on this base, I'm going to take another little blob of our texture paint and spread that around so we can get that variety. And as you can see, I accomplished my goal and I've got some larger cracks and some smaller cracked areas. Now, be careful when you are applying your Necron back onto his base and sticking him back into the little groove that is there for him because the texture paint can be a little delicate and he might take a little bit of wiggling to get him back into place. And here he is, one of Legion, my Necron warrior. And I think he came out great. I love the bright aesthetic that we were able to capture with our dry brushing technique. I really wanted him to be sort of otherworldly and kind of ethereal looking, which is why I went with the blue and green color scheme. I also really wanted to keep in on his color palette that bright green that is the traditional Necron color that I and my husband are very used to. So it worked out really, really good. I am very pleased with how easy this is going to be. I actually even think like painting my pre-built ghost arc is going to be really, really accomplishable using the dry brushing technique. And I can't wait to get these guys ready and on the table to be playing with 9th edition. I hope you guys find this dry brushing technique useful for your own Indominus box sets. And I can't wait to see what everybody does with them. I hope that you guys tweet me your pictures of both your Space Marines and your Necrons, and make sure to like, subscribe, and share the channel in the future to help us continue to grow. Thank you guys so much again for watching, and I'll see you next time.